first one is, how will you work with people with disabilities and their representatives to ensure that the national disability strategy is implemented? In other words, that national legislation and policy that is to do with people with disabilities is translated into something local that is believable and understandable and relevant to all of you here in the room. And what will you do to remove the barriers to inclusion that people with disabilities are experiencing, so that they can ensure they have an experience of real equality in Carlow and Kilkenny? So basically, the question is about national policy and legislation, and it was referred to several times during the candidates' replies beforehand. But to make those tangible at local level, and then what the barriers are that may militate against people with disabilities being able to access those services, goods, and indeed the promises, thank you very much, PJ, for people with disabilities.
Take on the questions, because they're all interlinked and overlapping, and there's only, I suppose, one chance each would have been enough for us all to answer the questions. I do not agree with the last. I do not agree with the last speaker that nothing had been done for disability. Everyone's forgetting it as if nothing had happened over the last 20, 15 years. I mean, we were in power from 1997 until 2007, 15 years in power, and a lot had been done at that time for disability. A lot of money was poured. No, not that time. Not cuts when he came later on.
All right.
And I didn't interrupt. I didn't interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you. If you want to get political debate, sit down.
All right, we'll keep it civilized.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just saying I didn't interrupt either, so I don't mind being interrupted either. But I'll just say it as if we forgot all about what was put into the services over the years. There was a lot of money, a lot of resources put into it, and we'll never forget that. If we were to go back in the 90s and until we came to the 2000s, there was a lot of improvements done those in the time. So don't people just forget about everything. Employment, there was a lot of companies, in local authorities and in Kilkenny County Council in particular, there was a policy of employing disability people, and that had happened in a lot of places. Now, it probably wasn't enough, but there were work done in that road, and it should be carried more. Of course, then the recession came and everything went downhill. But the question is, what would you do for people with disabilities and representatives? I had first-hand knowledge of a disabled. I have a grandchild disabled, and I work with that child and with my daughter every day. And we mind her, myself and my wife. So I have first-hand knowledge of disability, and serious of disability. So I can guarantee you, I would, if elected, would represent disabled people. And by my presence here tonight, I show that support, and so does all the other candidates, not just me. And I would work to make sure in the draw that this would be brought to implemented and brought forward field. As far as the National Disability Strategy is concerned, I think whoever will be elected has to make sure that they have an input into that, and especially when the review takes place next year. I think that's very important. Any review must take priority, must take service into consideration. I think that's very important. Again, I said if I'm elected as regular contact with the disability people here, come into Galway and make their points on a regular basis and raise with the minister's concern and on the draw floor. That's another thing. And the most important thing, to implement the National Disability Strategy, we have committed to restoring a minister, a single minister for disability. And we had that day before, and unfortunately it was dropped, which I think was a mistake. And we will go back to, we give that commitment, we will restore a minister for disability. I think that's very important. Most people with disabilities, I must make sure they get opportunities for work. I think that's important. That's been mentioned by Mike New already. All intro services being extended to disabled people. I think people with disability are discriminated when they seek employment, and this should be changed. We all know that, it's been mentioned by everyone. And I think another point, that's people, when they do take out work, it's a lot extra cost on the disabled person because it won't to and from work. So all I can say again, and I want to reiterate it, if I'm elected, I will do my utmost to represent the people of Carlow and Kilkenny, and especially the disabled, and I will carry that flag with me no matter where I be sent to represent them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.